not as complicated as people make it out to be, but it does take focus. So if all you're doing is saying, hey, put up a job post over here for this position, and that's it, that's your process, you're not going to win. You're not going to get the talent that you want, especially as fast as you want it.
There's a handful of people that I've connected with that somehow I get put into their CRM and I get all of their marketing materials and stuff. And though it has nothing to do with me and my business, I don't unsubscribe from it because I want to know how they're doing it. What is their lead campaigns look like, etc.
At the end of the day, if you're really planning on growing, which I think most of our audiences are people who are like, hey, I want to go to 40 practices or I want to go to 100 practices. You really have to look at your biggest restraints, and talent acquisition is your number one restraint for most organizations. So that means you need to invest in a similar system that can help attract people, but then work with them as they go through, not just thinking of every transaction as a one-on-one, but hey, here's somebody in the future that we might be able to work with and building that database. Welcome to another episode of Dental Rift. I'm your co-host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more new patients so you can grow the way that you want.
My name is Tanner Applegate. I am the CEO and founder of Unify. We are a software solution that helps dental practices scale their organization.
So today we got two really cool topics. So number one, I had the privilege and the honor to interview John Murphy. He's the Vice President of Talent Acquisition at Aspen, which if you know anything about their business model, that's a lot of recruiting that they have to do. And I'll go into depth about that. And I want to share with the audience because I think there's some things that we can learn from them. And then number two is ChatGPT and Bard is decreasing in traffic, and less people are using it and not staying on the site as long. And this might be a sign of a trend, or there might be some other reasons behind it. Tanner, which of these two do you think we should tackle first?
Dude, hiring has been an issue for dental for way too long. I'm excited to hear what his thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so I got the opportunity to meet with John Murphy. How that kind of came about, I interviewed somebody else who used to work with Aspen, and they had some particular thoughts on that. You can go look at that episode. It's a while back. It was on a different platform. It wasn't on this one. It was on Dental Marketing Theory. And he kind of leaned into Aspen a little bit, and they in turn wanted to come on and kind of talk through how they actually do things. And it's pretty interesting because his job is talent acquisition for not only Aspen of all of their Aspen locations. Keep in mind, those are all de novos. So every time you have to hire a full team. So he's in charge of that. And then he's also in charge of
Clear Choice.
Clear Choice, thank you. He's also in charge of Clear Choice and all of their recruiting, and they're expanding, and all of their vets. And there was one or two other organizations that I wasn't as familiar with. But basically, he's at the center. If they don't recruit because they do the de novo model, if they don't recruit, they don't grow, period. So he walked through how he sets up his CRM, how he really looks at recruiting, just marketing. He's basically just said it's just marketing. And then we have this really in-depth follow-up system and how we connect with people and stay in front of people. That is, if I was going to boil it all down to one thing, that's what's different about them. Everybody else is playing T-ball while they're playing Major League Baseball from a logistics standpoint and a strategy standpoint from recruiting.
So what stood out to you then about this? Is this just something where it's like, as a small guy, I should be quaking in my boots because I don't have the resources that they have? Or is there any kind of learning or takeaway from this that a small individual practice, maybe emerging group could take away from this?
You want to hear something crazy? Dental marketing agencies are dead. You got that right. They're dead. Why do I say that? Well, we don't consider ourselves a dental marketing agency. We are a growth partner. What that means is we help our clients not only create opportunities, but we help them convert them and close them as well. And that is what's needed in the day and age that we live, because just getting new patient leads is not enough. You need somebody that's going to help you actually get these new patients into your chair and make sure that they're the right kind of patient for your office. Now, we put together a whole report that will tell you where dental marketing currently is, because there's a ton of changes, tons of things are going on with the market, and we broke down what you're going to need to do to stay ahead of the industry and grow the way that you want. The link is down below. Go check it out. Everything is free. I look forward to hearing from you. Yeah, so it's not as complicated as people make it out to be, but it does take focus. So if all you're doing is saying, "Hey, put up a job post over here for this position," and that's it, that's your process, and they go in, you get some applicants, and then you're done. You're not going to win. Like or it's going to be very hard to win. You're not going to get the talent that you want, especially as fast as you want it. What they're doing, what's different about this is that they're going out and creating opportunities to get leads. So a lead in this, we normally think of leads, we think of like a new patient, but I want to change people's minds a little bit about this. Think of a lead as somebody who's interested or looking for a job, which is pretty much anybody in the dental community, right? So they figure out different ways that they're going to attract those leads, whether it's working with colleges, whether it's job boards, whether it's on social media, whatever it may be. And then they're funneling all those people back into a CRM. And then they have stages that they work that contact through. So that way they're like, hey, this is somebody who's interested. How do we get them for an interview? And then what they do is they find out, okay, what are you actually interested in? And what are your goals? And where are you trying to go with your careers? And they document that in their CRM. And then that way, when those opportunities arise, they already have a list of people who've expressed interest in those kind of positions. So the advantage that they have over everybody else outside of just having somebody to focus on this is they have more opportunities that they can plug people into. So if someone's like, hey, I really want to do this job, but I want to do it in this area, they have opportunities that they can present on that. But at the end of the day, if you're really planning on growing, which I think most of our audiences are people who are like, hey, I want to go to 40 practices or I want to go to 100 practices, you really have to look at your biggest restraints, and talent acquisition is your number one restraint for most organizations. So that means you need to invest in a similar system, maybe not to their scale, but someone focusing and building out a system that can help attract people, but then work with them as they go through, not just thinking of every transaction as a one-on-one, one in, one out, but hey, here's somebody in the future that we might be able to work with, and building that database.
Yeah, so that type of system that you're talking about is called an applicant tracking system, right? So if this is really rung a bell and you're like, hey, I've got to do this for my organization, look up applicant tracking systems. A lot of the times HR systems like Paylocity or Gusto or these other HR systems will have an applicant tracking system built in, but you can also go and buy them individually and apart. So what applicant tracking system would do nicely though is that it makes it so you don't have to go in and pre-build all these things out, right? Like it is pre-built in a way that you just start plugging in these applications. A lot of the times too, they'll even go in and they'll plug into your systems like your ZipRecruiter or your Craigslist or whatever. So as you start getting, or even to your email, so as you start getting these applicants, they can automatically connect into them. And so you're saving a lot of kind of manual labor. But as you're saying, I think that where I would add to that too is that a lot of the times where you say, hey, I don't know how to compete with these large organizations that have the resources. I think that that's where the value of being very kind of regionally specific has a lot of value, right? So you can really get to know the dental school in your area. You can really get to know kind of other employers in the area so that when they leave, you can kind of pick up their associates, et cetera. And I think that has a lot of value of really kind of building a reputation specifically geographically to the area that you're in. So yeah, you're ready to go once you need that next associate or hygienist or whatever it is.
You know what else I would do, Tanner, if I was out in the recruiting market or if I was running a dental organization, I was like, I really want to step up my recruiting game. I would go put myself in all these funnels. So they are setting up marketing funnels, and they are using not just a tracking applicant software, but they're also using a CRM to manage those contacts much later in the process. And that's a little bit different. Like it's a little bit of a different process. And they're sending emails, text messages. They're all of these reach out points because once they say, okay, we have a job here and we have all these old applicants over here, let's start messaging them about this new opportunity. I would put myself right in the middle of that, and I would want to see, what are they texting? What are they emailing? And it might be that for two reasons, not to copy them, but to say, how do I be different? How can I be different than them? And they're going to be doing a lot of things right, but I want to be totally different. I want to focus on, if they're focusing on pay, I want to focus on lifestyle. If they're focusing on, flexibility or lack of flexibility, like I want to be all flexibility, right? You want to be the opposite of the competition and to attract the people that you want. That's what I would do. I would just see what everybody's doing. And the cool part is, Tanner, you can literally put yourself into everybody's funnel in your market
Right.
or even across the nation. You just go online, fill it out, put your email in, boom, and you're going to be getting all of their emails and all their texts.
Yeah, that's smart. I'd be interested to do that. I mean, there's a handful of people that I've connected with that somehow I get put into their CRM and I get all of their marketing materials and stuff. And though it has nothing to do with me and my business, I don't unsubscribe from it because I want to know how they're doing it. What is their lead campaigns look like, et cetera. It's like that's a smart move, especially from a recruiting perspective.
Yeah, I'm in Smile Direct Club's funnel. I'm in a Clear Choice funnel, like all of these bigger organizations. I'm in
Dr. Bird. We really want to offer you a position.
Yeah, exactly. I love watching that kind of stuff.
I get those all the time. I get Dr. Applegate stuff all the time.
That's so fun. Okay, so let's talk about ChatGPT and it decreasing. So if you go to Google Trend right now, what you're going to see is that worldwide desktop and mobile traffic to ChatGPT website is down almost 10% in June from May. May was the peak, and the unique visitors to the website have dropped almost 6%. The amount of on-time visitors spent on the website is also down almost 9%. And that is a big dip. Now, there's two reasons this might be. Number one, this might be because we're in summer now, Tanner, and so kids are not in school. So a big user of ChatGPT and Bard are going to be kids that are in school. So that might be the reason why, but it also might be that there's just not as much interest for it. We're kind of using it the way we want to use it. It's kind of set in. And we've had this promise of like AI is going to come in and revolutionize everything with all these different products. But to be honest, a lot of the products that have come out, not ChatGPT per se, but these other products have really been lackluster. A lot of them, some have been okay. We use some of them, but you have to wade through 10 or 20 of them to get to one good one. What are your thoughts? Why do you think that their ChatGPT and Bard's traffic's dipping this way? Is it simple? Is it the school thing? Or is there more to it from an AI perspective and just people getting bored with AI overall?
I think that in general, this is a common trend for adoption in general. Like there's a spike of excitement and energy, and then it dips back down. And then if the company does well and makes it through the valley of death, then they slowly start to get that back up. And that's kind of the really the key piece of any organization. They obviously did a great job of driving some initial interest and some initial hype. But yeah, the value of are they going to be able to survive as an organization is going to be, can we keep interest enough post Valley of Death instead of pre Valley of Death?
Yeah. And do you think the school? So you don't think schools part of the problem?
The schools will definitely have an impact on it, but I don't think that the schools are really, from a true value to the organization, I don't think the schools are really where the value lies anyways. I think that there's long-term value in students getting into the habit of using it all the time. But I think from a short-term perspective, really where you got to get in is into the business world.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree with you, because if you get the businesses to use it, why the business though? Do you don't want general population using it, or you just feel there's more money in the business world?
I think there's more money in the business world. The business world, as they start utilizing it, they think, oh, how else could I utilize this? In which they'll be able to then generate more revenue off of it, right? Oh, if I plug my API into this to verify my analytics or whatever, now all of a sudden Open API is making money off of you via their API, where they don't make as much money off of you via the front end user interface that they make, right? And so I think that the business world is more willing to spend money and to upsell into other additional features than the poor student body that is using it currently.
Got it. Yeah, I agree with you. And I do think that there's going to come a point where it's just like, okay, ChatGPT is cool. You can use it for these things. You can get better at these things. And those people are going to continue to use it. But for the general population to adopt, there's more applications that need to happen, and it needs to be super easy to use, super easy. I was watching a clip on Steve Jobs when he was creating the Macintosh, and he was like, it has to be like an appliance. The first computers have to be like an appliance that a grandma can walk up to, like a blender. Everybody knows how to use a blender because you walk up, you hit the button, and then speed 2, speed 3, and then off, right? And it's super simple to use. And so when new technology comes out, if you want mass adoption, it has to be intuitive and it has to be like an appliance. And I think that ChatGPT, especially when it first came out, now with the phone app, it's a lot easier. But even still, you have to know what questions to ask. Otherwise, you ask things and you get these wonky answers or incorrect answers, and it's not a good experience. And Bard definitely rolled out too early. And I love the interface, but the information's not great. It's not always accurate. It's sometimes it's like way off base. So it's going to be interesting to see if they spin it back the other way and start working it into search engines. I think that's the play, but I don't know if they're going to be able, how long that's going to take. Is that going to take a year, 6 months, a couple years? I think there's definitely both factors at play, like what you're referring to.
I really do think that the future of this, from any perspective, is just going to be in the back end application to other software and not in the front end user interface and users interacting with it that way, right? And so I think that the decrease, yes, that's bad because sure, it may not have been fully adopted as it could be, but I really do think that ultimately, like, the value for them as an organization is how can we get other people to utilize this in other setups, and user interface interaction is not an indicator of whether they're utilizing that or not.
Yep, I'm with you. Well, this has been a good one. Good call today. This is not a call. This is a podcast. This is a good show today.
Tired, Gary. Gotta go lay down, man.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. See you, dude.